In just over a month, the aviation world witnessed a nightmare that hadn't been seen in decades. From late December 2024 to early 2025, we've witnessed a series of devastating aviation disasters that have left the world questioning whether flying is still safe. A passenger plane shot down by a missile over Russia, a commercial airliner belly landing and exploding in South Korea, a mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. that killed 67 people. These aren't just statistics, these are tragedies that have shattered families and shaken the aviation industry to its core. But here's the question everyone's asking: are we really seeing more plane crashes, or does it just feel that way? Today, we're going to break down every single one of these incidents, examining what went wrong, and uncover the truth about aviation safety in 2025. Because what you're about to discover might surprise you. The string of disasters began on Christmas Day 2024, and what followed was a month that aviation professionals hope never to see repeated. Between December 25th, 2024 and early February 2025, we witnessed several aviation incidents that claimed hundreds of lives and dominated headlines globally. The timing seemed almost cruel. The Azerbaijan Airlines tragedy occurred on Christmas Day, when families should have been celebrating together. The Jeju air crash happened just days before New Year's Eve, casting a shadow over holiday celebrations in South Korea. And the Washington, D.C. collision struck in late January, shattering the lives and ending promising careers in an instant. But before we dive into each incident, it's crucial to understand something. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, aviation incidents in the United States are actually down nearly 10% compared to the same period last year. Between January 1st and April 20th, 2024, the NTSB investigated 275 aviation accidents. During the same period in 2025, that number dropped to 250. This statistical reality creates a fascinating paradox. While our screens have been filled with devastating aviation news, the actual data tells a different story of improving safety. So what's really going on here? Are we experiencing a genuine surge in aviation disasters, or are we simply more aware of them than ever before? Let's start with the disaster that took place on Christmas Day in 2024. Azerbaijan Airlines Flight 8243 was flying from Baku, Azerbaijan to Grozny, Russia, carrying 62 passengers and 5 crew members. Among the passengers were 37 Azerbaijani citizens, 16 Russians, 6 Kazakhs, and 3 Kyrgyz nationals, including 4 children. The aircraft itself was an 11-year-old Embraer 190AR, the longest range variant of the aircraft, registered as 4K AZ65 and named Gusar after the Azerbaijani regional capital. It had accumulated around 15,257 flight hours since its first flight in July 2013 and had undergone its most recent maintenance check on October 18th, 2024. On paper, everything seemed fine with the aircraft, and that's because it was. However, there was something going on in the Russian skies that nobody knew. As the aircraft approached Grozny, the crew encountered severe weather conditions and GPS jamming that made navigation extremely difficult. Ukrainian drones were reportedly attacking the area as part of an ongoing military operation, and Russian air defense systems were actively defending against these threats. According to Flight Radar 24 data, Flight 8243 encountered GPS interference starting at 4:25 UTC, with invalid ADS-B position data due to significant electronic warfare jamming in the region. This forced the crew to rely on traditional navigation methods while attempting to land in one of the most contested airspaces. As the aircraft approached Grozny, passengers and crew heard what investigators described as a sonic boom. The aircraft had been struck by fragments of a Russian surface-to-air missile, likely from a Pantsir S-1 system, defending against Ukrainian drone attacks in the area. The strike was catastrophic. All 3 hydraulic systems failed, primary control surfaces became fixed in neutral positions, and the cabin became depressurized. In the confusion, cabin crew reported that passenger seats had exploded from shrapnel penetration. The pilots, initially unaware of what happened, reported a possible bird strike and requested diversion to Russian airports. Russian authorities denied emergency landing permissions at multiple airports, directing the crew to fly across the Caspian Sea to Aktu, Kazakhstan. For over an hour, the crew performed remarkable airmanship, controlling the aircraft using only engine thrust while crossing hundreds of miles of open water. The Embraer 190 finally crashed near Aktu Airport, approximately 3 miles from the runway. The crash unfortunately killed 38 people, including both pilots and 1 flight attendant. Remarkably though, 29 people survived. including some who dragged themselves from the wreckage. The international response was swift and damning. Azerbaijan's president Ilham Aliyev publicly accused Russia of shooting down the aircraft, and he demanded an official apology, compensation for the victims, and prosecution of those who were responsible. In July 2025, leaked documents purportedly from the Russian air defense personnel revealed communications showing the missile strike was authorized by Moscow despite poor visibility conditions. This incident highlighted the extreme dangers civilian aircraft face while flying near active conflict zones, which is a risk that has only increased since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The crash killed 38 people, including both pilots and a flight attendant, but remarkably, 29 people did survive. Just 4 days after the Azerbaijan Airlines tragedy, another devastating accident occurred, this time in South Korea. On December 29, 2024, Jeju Air Flight 2216 was approaching the Muan International Airport after an overnight flight from Bangkok, Thailand. The aircraft, registration HL8088, was a 15-year-old Boeing 737-8AS that had been manufactured in September 2004. Jeju Air, established in 2005 as South Korea's first low-cost carrier, had an excellent safety record, with only one previous incident in 2007 where all passengers survived. However, this incident was going to end completely differently. The aircraft was carrying 179 passengers and 6 crew members on what should have been a routine landing. The flight had proceeded normally until the approach phase, when conditions at Muan International Airport presented some unique challenges. Muan International Airport has a concerning distinction. Since 2019, 10 bird strikes had been recorded at Muan, creating an ongoing safety concern that would prove tragically relevant. At 8:57 a.m., the control tower issued a bird strike warning. The pilot immediately declared bird strike, and executed a go-around retracting landing gear and flaps. According to flight data, the aircraft had been configured normally for landing when a bird strike occurred, with landing gear and flaps deployed for the approach. The pilot requested to land on the same runway in the opposite direction, requiring a complex teardrop turn maneuver. This decision, made under emergency conditions, would later become a focus of the investigation. On the second approach, the aircraft touched down 1,200 meters past the normal zone with the landing gear failed to deploy, forcing a high-speed belly landing. The Boeing 737-800 slid down the runway, generating sparks before overrunning and hitting a concrete barrier just 250 meters from the runway's end. This 4-meter high structure supported the airport's instrument landing system's antennas. The impact was devastating and caused the death of all 175 passengers and 4 crew members instantly. Only 2 cabin crew members seated in the aircraft's tail section survived with injuries when that portion separated from the fuselage. The survivors were flight attendants Lee and Koo, had no clear recollection of the crash when they awoke in hospitals. The investigation revealed critical infrastructure problems. Aviation experts immediately questioned why a solid concrete structure existed so close to the runway.
That kind of structure should not be there. The ILS antennae, it's where they normally are. But they shouldn't be embedded in something as hard as that. That is awful. That is unbelievably awful.
The barrier had been modified in 2023 with additional concrete reinforcement, making it even more dangerous. Remarkably, the airport's own operating manual, published in May 2024, noted that the barrier was too close to the runway, and they recommended reviewing its location. Following this tragedy, South Korean authorities announced immediate changes. The concrete barrier would be immediately removed and replaced with frangible materials designed to break away upon impact. Additionally, comprehensive inspections were ordered for all 101 Boeing 737-800 aircraft operated by 6 South Korean airlines. The crash prompted debates about bird strike prevention measures and aircraft design standards. Some investigators later suggested that pilot error may have contributed, with reports that one pilot might have shut down the wrong engine after the bird strike, though this remains disputed by pilot unions and the victims' families. This became South Korea's deadliest aircraft disaster since 1997, and it highlighted critical gaps in airport safety infrastructure that exist at facilities worldwide. But even this incident didn't end what feels like a curse in the aviation world. On January 29, 2025 at 8:47 p.m., American Airlines Flight 5342 collided with a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River just half a mile from Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. Flight 5342 was a Bombardier CRJ-700, operated by PSA Airlines, was carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew from Wichita, Kansas. The flight represented something special for Kansas residents, who for years had to drive adjacent Missouri and Oklahoma for long-distance flights. This direct service to Washington, D.C. had been established just 1 year earlier, and local leaders convinced American Airlines to provide East Coast connectivity. Among the passengers were figure skaters, coaches, and family members returning from training camps following the 2025 U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Wichita. The crew included Captain Jonathan Campos and First Officer Samuel Lilly, who had recently gotten engaged. Tragically, Lilly's father had flown the same route for years as an Army Black Hawk pilot, transporting passengers over the Potomac from Virginia bases to the Pentagon. The Army helicopter PAT-25 was a UH-60L Black Hawk. It had 3 crew members conducting night vision training. The helicopter belonged to B Company of the 12th Aviation Battalion at Fort Belvoir and was part of the continuity of the government plan conducting routine aircrew retraining for night operations along the established corridor. Now, Washington, D.C.'s airspace presents unique challenges, especially during the nighttime. The area around Reagan National is among the most congested and complex in the world, with multiple helicopter routes intersecting commercial traffic patterns, and this congestion would become the reason for one of the deadliest crashes in U.S. aviation history. At 8:43 p.m., Flight 5342 contacted the tower, initially cleared for runway 1, but they asked to switch to runway 33. This runway change provided significant, as runway 33's approach path directly intersects helicopter route 4, where military aircraft fly among the Potomac River at or below 200 feet. At 8:46 p.m., the controller informed the helicopter crew of the circling CRJ approach, but the helicopter's voice recorder didn't capture the word circling, suggesting an incomplete communication. The helicopter crew acknowledged seeing the jet and requested visual separation. The aircraft operated at different radio frequencies, preventing crews from hearing each other's communications. The CRJ was equipped with traffic collision avoidance system technology. However, at low altitudes near airports, resolution advisories are usually suppressed to avoid potentially hazardous maneuvers close to the ground. Because of this, the pilots in the airplane had no idea that the helicopter was in their way, and so they took off. At 8:47 p.m., both aircraft collided at 300 feet altitude, immediately catching fire and plunging into the river, killing all 67 people on board. The tragedy highlighted systemic issues with air traffic control at Reagan National. A preliminary FAA report revealed staffing levels were, quote, not normal, with helicopter and local control positions combined earlier than usual, meaning one controller manage both aircraft types simultaneously. Now, normally, these positions aren't combined until around 9:30 p.m. when traffic decreases, but they were merged at 3:40 p.m., allowing one controller to leave early. This staffing decision came amid an ongoing shortage of qualified air traffic controllers nationwide, a problem that has stressed the aviation system for years. The controller workload during busy periods would become critical when managing aircraft on intersecting flight patterns with minimal margin for error. The collision site, captured on multiple cameras including Kennedy Center surveillance, showed both aircraft immediately erupting into flames. Recovery efforts in the frigid Potomac River with ice chunks provided challenging for divers and emergency responders who are working in these dangerous conditions. This disaster marked the first major commercial airline disaster in the United States since Colgan Air Flight 3407 in 2009, breaking a remarkable 16-year safety streak. And most recently, there was the Air India crash. On the 12th of June of 2025, Air India's Boeing 787-8 aircraft departed from Ahmedabad, India, and was on its way to Gatwick in London. With 230 passengers on board, 10 cabin crew, and 2 flight crew, the airplane took off, but within seconds, it started facing issues. Both fuel control switches abruptly moved to the cutoff point, causing an instant power loss to the engines. The pilots immediately switched the fuel control back to its normal position. However, it was already too late. Just 0.9 nautical miles away from runway 23 at Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport, the aircraft crashed into a nearby hostel of BJ Medical College in Ahmedabad. The crash was fatal, and all 12 crew members, 229 out of 230 passengers, and 19 others, tragically, lost their lives. According to the official investigation report, the retrieved cockpit voice recording captured a pilot asking the other why he cut off the fuel supply. The other pilot responded that he didn't do it. Right now, there isn't any clear explanation given whether it was the pilot asking his co-pilot this question or the other way around. However, it is a fact that co-pilot, 32-year-old Clive Kinder, was flying the plane, while Sumit Sabharwal, the 56-year-old captain, was monitoring. Right now, the Indian authorities are completing the investigations, and there isn't any conclusive statement or report provided that explains the true reason behind this tragic crash. Now, looking at all these tragic incidents, people have naturally started to wonder if flying is as safe as the aviation experts say it is. And that's where things get interesting. Despite the string of high-profile accidents, data reveals aviation is becoming safer. A CNN analysis shows civil aviation fatal accidents have declined by more than half since 2000. Commercial aviation incidents throughout March 2025 remain at historical norms, with 14 events versus 12 the previous year. Most remarkably, 10 of the last 25 years recorded 0 commercial aviation fatalities in the United States. A recent MIT study also found that the risk of fatality from commercial air travel is 1 in 13.7 million. Nearly 3 million people in the US fly daily, yet deadly commercial incidents remain extraordinarily rare. And this brings us back to the topic at hand. If flying is really so safe, then why are we seeing so many crashes lately? Well, the short and simple answer is this: because more crashes are being reported. But there is a larger explanation, and that's the most interesting part. You see, several factors create the perception that aviation incidents are increasing. The most significant is our digital age. Everyone carries high-resolution cameras, and every incident is dramatically captured and shared within minutes. Aviation contributor Steve Ganyard said that despite the terrible fatal accidents we've seen this year, 2025 has actually been safer than 2024 so far. The difference, however, is in public perception. Everyone has the ability to record high-resolution video, so every incident is dramatically captured. Additionally, homes have surveillance systems, making incidents easier to capture. Social media ensures dramatic footage goes viral within hours. After major accidents, media outlets increase coverage of smaller incidents that would barely register during quieter periods. Then, there's the availability bias. When dramatic events cluster, our brains interpret this as an increasing frequency, even when the statistics show otherwise. This means that although we are seeing more aviation accidents, this does not mean that the number of accidents has actually increased. It's just that there is more publicity given to the accidents now. And that's actually a good thing, because it forces authorities to take immediate steps to make air travel even safer than ever. For instance, after the Washington collision, the FAA closed helicopter routes and imposed new separation requirements. The agency announced a 3-year plan for new air traffic control systems amid concerns that radar equipment at facilities like Newark Liberty International Airport, where recent failures have caused significant disruptions. Modern commercial aircraft also incorporate multiple backup systems designed to handle various failure scenarios. Flight management computers continuously monitor aircraft systems, while enhanced ground proximity warning systems help prevent controlled flight into terrain accidents. Weather radar systems help pilots avoid dangerous conditions, and improve engine designs provide greater reliability than previous generations. Aviation professionals stress that these accidents do not represent systemic breakdown. Mike Ginter of the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association explains this: "We are very lucky in this country to have such a safe aviation system because of the regulatory framework with the FAA, our close partnership with industry, and technological advancements, and the NTSB data supports this. There were 1,006 single-engine accidents in 2024, the lowest since 2006. Helicopter fatalities reached their lowest level since 2007, with just 15 deaths. Commercial aviation shows even more impressive statistics, with many years recording 0 fatalities. The International Civil Aviation Organization reports similar global trends worldwide. Commercial aviation continues improving safety year over year. International organizations share safety data and best practices, ensuring lessons learned from incidents benefit the global aviation community. Aircraft manufacturers continue incorporating new safety measures. Modern aircraft have multiple backup systems. Improved training simulators help pilots prepare for emergencies, and maintenance programs use predictive analytics to identify potential problems before they become critical. Enhanced collision avoidance systems, better weather radar, and improved runway monitoring systems are being deployed industry-wide. So to answer the original question, are there really more plane crashes happening? The data is clear. Aviation accidents are not increasing. Flying continues to become safer year after year. The recent incidents, while absolutely tragic, and honestly I wish they never happened, do represent statistical anomaly rather than a new trend. The truth is that we're experiencing a perception problem. The 24-hour news cycle creates an impression of constant danger that statistics don't support. Social media algorithms amplify dramatic content, ensuring aviation incidents receive disproportionate attention compared to their actual frequency. This doesn't diminish the tragedy or the importance of learning from these incidents, though. Every accident teaches valuable lessons that improve future safety. The heroic Azerbaijan Airlines crew's efforts under impossible conditions, the South Korean Airways safety investigations, and the Washington air traffic improvements will all prevent future tragedies. The Azerbaijan Air's incident occurred in the war zone context that doesn't reflect normal civilian operations. The Jeju air crash led to immediate infrastructure improvements that will benefit airports worldwide. The Washington collision has driven enhanced air traffic control procedures and technology upgrades. For passengers, the message is clear. Flying remains the safest long-distance travel methods. Your odds of commercial aviation accident are 1 in 13.7 million. You're more likely to be struck by lightning twice than experience a fatal commercial aircraft accident. The aviation industry's safety commitment, rigorous training programs, advanced technology, and continuous improvement ensure flying will become even safer. While we're seeing more incidents reported in our connected world, the underlying trend toward improved safety continues unchanged. Every person in aviation, from pilots to mechanics to air traffic controllers and safety investigators, share one goal: ensuring every flight arrives safely. Their dedication, combined with advancing technology and lessons from past incidents, maintains our confidence in commercial aviation safety. In conclusion, the skies aren't becoming more dangerous, we're just seeing them more clearly than ever. What do you think? Have these incidents changed your perspective on flying? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you like this video, hit that subscribe button for more aviation content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.